So I guess I'll begin with what I last remember. Now the last couple weeks before I delivered were kind of crazy. We were in prep mode. We were trying to get things done. The last memory I have is I was kind of doing like a last minute errand run with my friend, and we went and saw a movie. It ends with us. And then the last solid memory, she was driving a truck and I was sitting in the passenger seat, and I remember pulling up to this resale shop because I had told her, oh, let me just see if they have anything last minute I might want to get the girls. And I remember seeing this resale shop had like items along their front entry, like on the sidewalk, just so you could like, you know, peruse and pick it up and go inside and buy it. And like having a vision of looking over the truck dashboard at those baby items is the very last solid memory I can pinpoint that I personally came up from my head. And that was on a Saturday afternoon. There were even a couple things the couple days before that I don't recall very well, but that's the last solid memory that I can say I know I came up with that all my own. That was my memory. There are flashes of things that I feel like I've been reminded of as I've gone on and been showed pictures and texts and things, especially texts. I don't know what it is. I do remember some texts. Like I look at the text and I'm like, I remember sending that text. But I have no frame of reference of where to put that in my memory. I just know it exists. And the couple months leading up to my delivery, I had what we now know is an impending sense of doom, which is a symptom of what I went through, a symptom of an AFE, where I would randomly turn to Dylan when we'd be driving somewhere or sitting at home, and I would say, you know, if I like bleed out on the table, here's what I want you to do. And these were all in different instances. So like these were individual questions at random times. I'd be like, if I end up in a coma for some reason and I'm not really mentally there, here's what my wishes are for you to do. My biggest concern, which may be reasonable with multiples, I don't know, is I told him, I don't care unless I am dead. No one holds our children before me except you. Which that would be later, some kind of like weird foreshadowing, which we did find out is a symptom of AFE, an impending sense of doom, an impending sense that something terrible has happened. And sometimes it'll be like mine, where it's the times leading up to it. Sometimes it's like right before. I'm gonna turn my air down a little bit, sorry. Sometimes it's like right before it happens. So that would be my only symptom leading up to AFE. Now I want to just specify, there is no way to know if an AFE is going to happen. According to what I've researched and what I've seen and what my doctors have told me, there is no way for us to know that this was going to happen. It just did. So we lead up, and everything I tell you from here on out has been given to me secondhand by my husband, by my doctors, by my friends and family. We went in for the C-section. Grayson spent the night at my in-laws' house. We went in for the C-section very early in the morning. We showed up. According to Dylan, I was incredibly calm, except when he started messing with the machines. And apparently I was like, stop doing that. Stop messing with the machines. And he was kind of jittery. He said he was jittery, but you were just so calm. Like, you were so happy. You're chatting up with the nurses. Like, honestly, I'm sure I was feeling so relieved, because the last couple months of my pregnancy were so painful. It was painful to move. It was painful to sleep. It was painful to roll over. Everything just was not fun. And the only saving grace I had was that my girls were healthy, and that my body was not going into premature labor. Like, my body, I stayed pregnant so well. Going for the C-section, and everything is going really well. Just for reference, for those who may not know, when you have multiples and you go in for a C-section, okay, everybody has their own team. I have my own team. Each baby has her own team. So it's a very crowded delivery room, from what I'm told. Again. So everything goes well. My doctor, my amazing MFM, we can't say enough good things about her. Literally saved my life. She obviously cuts, and they pull baby A out, and they pull baby B out, and they pull baby C out, and they kind of let them sit on my tummy for a second for a delayed cord clamping. And then they cut the cord on baby A, removed her placenta. They did the same thing with B. The real problem came when we went to cut Colin's baby C, to cut her placenta, cut her umbilical cord, get her placenta out. We were joking because she had been our problem baby that we'd almost lost. We were like, my doctor said, oh my gosh, thank goodness she's out, because she took 10 years off my life. And apparently I was like chatting with her over the drape, and then they took the placenta out, and according to my doctor, my arms flew up off the table, and the anesthesiologist started yelling. He said, she's got no vital signs. And he's like, guys, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And very quickly, at this point, Dylan's back is turned to me, because they had already taken Charlotte and Kendall over to the warmers, and they had said, Dad, come get some pictures. So he's over there taking individual pictures of our babies. We were having this beautiful moment where we were meeting our babies for the first time, and my heart stops. I can laugh about it now. So immediately they shoved my poor husband out of the room. Some nurses start CPR on me. My doctor, as quickly as she can, sews up my uterus, puts it back in my body, sews me up. And then they begin the arduous process of CPR for the next 45 minutes. I wish I could show you like a list. I looked on my medical history, like there's a list of how long they did. Like you can see, started compressions, ended compressions, administer medication, compressions, like every minute that they switched off, they did it. And then my doctor, as soon as she was done, she started helping with compressions for the next 45 minutes. And very quickly, they got me on oxygen. Very quickly, they decided that my heart could not do it, and they got me on ECMO. The amount of miracles that we experienced in this delivery. We weren't supposed to be delivering at this hospital originally. That was a last minute decision in the last couple months of my pregnancy. The fact that this ECMO doctor was not in a surgery, that he was in clinic, he was there across the hospital within minutes, they said. It was remarkable that he had nothing else going on. He could come and he could immediately put my body on the ECMO. The fact that I was at a trauma hospital, I received in total over 100 units of blood. I think we did the math once. It's like over 10 people's worth of blood donations, if not more, because they finally got my heart back. They had me on the ECMO, and they were like, okay, she's relatively stable. Let's get her to the CVICU. So they get me to the CVICU, and I won't stop bleeding. And at this point, while all of this is going on, Dylan had been sitting in the hallway for the first 15 minutes of that hour. He was sitting in the hallway, thinking I was dead. Genuinely, he was like, she's dead. What am I gonna do? And very luckily, a NICU nurse came back. I mean, I'm sure in the chaos, because the girls were still in the room with me at the time. So they got the girls in the NICU, got them situated. And then a nurse came and found my husband and helped him into a room where he was able to call all of our family and tell them what had happened. From what I hear, they cried with him and they supported him and brought him back to meet our girls in the NICU. So I don't like thinking about that part of what he went through, because he had to make some pretty tough calls to not just our family, but to some of our closest friends. So I don't envy that of him at all. So at this time, they had told him where I was, and they had my doctor talk to him. So they get me up to the CVICU, and they can't stop the bleeding. The way Dylan apparently caught a glimpse of it, and he said 2 nurses were just teeter-tottering like a seesaw on my uterus, like on my stomach, because they were like, it's just, she won't stop bleeding. And he's like, there was blood everywhere, all over that ICU room. So basically, they made the decision very quickly. They said, look, she has started DIC. It's disseminate this. Here's the word. I would put the word here. Basically, it means my body was simultaneously clotting and not clotting. Like, I was bleeding out from every pore, but I was still clotting in all the wrong places. So my body could not function the way it was supposed to. So I'm bleeding out everywhere. Basically, they came to Dylan and my doctor said, her uterus will not stop bleeding. We need to take it out. She needs to have a hysterectomy. She may not survive this hysterectomy. But the matter of the fact is, she will definitely die if we don't do it. And so my husband had to make the hard decision to tell them to do the hysterectomy. Thank goodness, because I'm glad I didn't die. But they went in, they did it. Fun fact, I still have an ovary. So, you know, all the hormones and everything, still got it. And at that point, there were a lot of little things in between that, but they got me in that surgery, got me stable, got me back to the CVICU. They cleaned up the room, and the next thing I remember, and then I was in a coma for 6 days. The first thing I remember waking up was looking at the ceiling of the hospital room and thinking, what the hell has happened? I was like, this must be a dream, because I had very vivid dreams when I was pregnant, and I was like, this is a dream, I'm fine. And then I roll my head to the side and I see Dylan, and I'm high as a kite. I should also mention that, because his eyes, I've never seen that man's eyes look so blue. They were so bright blue. I remember he was wearing an Astro shirt. I think it was an Astro shirt. It was orange, but that was so bright. And he shows me this picture that my sweet father got for me when I was in the coma. It was like a picture of our family, like a pieced together family picture. And he said, Marissa, the girls are beautiful. Look at them. And I was like, those are not my babies. This is not real. You are an alien. Because everything was very shiny and bright. And I was like, there's no way this is real. This cannot be real. And then there were nurses that had to come, and they had to roll me on my side and wipe my bum, and like I had to get an x-ray. And I remember that whole first night for like 4 or 5 hours just being out of my mind, terrified. I had a lot of experiences in those couple days that like my friends and family thought were really funny and were actually really concerned about, because a big concern when I was in my coma was that my brain had not made it and that I would be brain dead. So there was a lot of concern. It took a really long time for them to figure out. Like, I thought once I realized it was real, I was like, I've been in an accident. I was like, is the van okay? Is Grayson okay? Like, are you okay? What happened? And Dylan was like, no. It took me almost a solid week to figure out that, like, I had willingly gone to this hospital. I had willingly gone into a delivery room, an OR, and had them take my babies out. I was just very out of it. And that was, when I think about the experience of being in that hospital, as amazing as a hospital as it was, they did so much for my family and I. It takes me back to a very dark place. It's getting darker as I talk about this. It takes me back to a very dark place. I didn't sleep an ounce once I woke up from when I went home. I mean, I cat-napped, I think, a few times, and I was exhausted. I was terrified. I remember the day that Dylan went back to work. There was like a couple days where I was by myself, technically in the hospital, in labor and in the postpartum ward, and I just cried. Every 10 minutes I was in tears. I had multiple nurses say that they were concerned, and then one came in and she was just like, I just think you need a hug. I just could not. And if you look at pictures, I should show a picture. I could not stop crying, and it's so obvious. If I had been mentally okay, I think I would have embraced that time. I would have slept. I would have gone to see my girls while I had immediate access to them. Like a nurse who was like, yes, I'll take you down to the NICU. Like, we were very popular in the hospital. It was a very dark place, and I had some amazing friends that came to visit me while I was in the late postpartum ward. And they helped a little bit, and I cannot thank, I had one friend in particular, and my mother-in-law and my dad. The day I got discharged, they came. Dylan and Grayson had met me at the hospital the night before, and we had talked with my doctor late. It was like 8:45, 9 o'clock. And I had told her, I'm not mentally well. Like, I can't stay here. I can't. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Just don't make me stay here. And she said, okay, we will get you discharged. And so the next day, obviously Dylan had to go back to work. So I was by myself, and I had to advocate for myself, which is really hard to do. So my angel friend, my angel mother-in-law, my angel father, they made it happen. They sat when they both, and my friend came, and she was there when my physical therapist came by, and she was like, what does she physically have to do for you to get her out of this hospital? Then she went home, and then my mother-in-law and my dad came by, and they said, what do we need to do to get this woman out of this hospital? And the nurse, it was so funny, the day nurse was like, honey, I just don't think it's gonna happen. Like, I've been here, I've seen it so many times. I know you want to leave, but I just don't think it's gonna happen. 7:30 p.m. I'm heading home, which is in part thanks to the absolutely wonderful staff at the hospital, right? Like, if I could say, they bent over backwards for me. They bent over backwards for my husband. They bent over backwards for all of us. And see, I'm gonna cry again, because that was the most beautiful part. There was so much confusion and terror and unknowing that accompanied the girl's birth and my AFE. That I am so grateful for the miraculous staff that was there. It's not an accident that they were there. Like I said, when I think about it too much, it does take me back to that really dark place where I woke up. And sometimes I look around and I think, golly, the girl that left that hospital is not the girl that went into that hospital. And I do think I'm better for it, but it's a hard pill to swallow sometimes. So I'm counting how long this is, and it's too long of a video. But that's my experience in a nutshell. There's a lot of other little miracles and little things that happened along with that, but I think God was in the details of this experience. And when I get sad thinking about the fact that I don't remember the birth of 3 of my children, it's a really hard pill to swallow. But man, I'm here. And unless you've been through a traumatic life and death experience like that, it can be really hard to reconcile that. Like, I'm so grateful to be alive, but I'm also so destroyed by the things that I missed in that week that I was dead, and the hours preceding it, the days preceding it. Yeah.